Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, we all know about the AR-10 and the AR-15. For most people, that is where it ends. In fact, designations people use today are actually wrong, if you know the history. And we're going to go through that history today on Pew Pew Park.
Welcome to Pew Pew Park.
However, before we go into the longer than you'd think list of AR designations from ArmaLite, we're going to go into a little bit of a brief history of ArmaLite themselves. ArmaLite was formed in 1954 by Fairchild Engine and Airplane Corporation. In 1962, Fairchild relinquished its interest in ArmaLite, and ArmaLite continued on as an independent company. By 1983, despite some success, ArmaLite couldn't keep up operations, and the company was sold to Elisco Tool Manufacturing Company from the Philippines. Elisco itself would dissolve and liquidate in the late 1980s. Independently of ArmaLite, Carl Lewis and Jim Glazier formed Eagle Arms in 1986. Originally, I thought they were, former employees of ArmaLite, but that is not the case. Carl Lewis owned Lewis Machine Tooling Company, who was one of the biggest suppliers of AR and M16 parts in the U.S. In 1994, Mark Weston purchased Eagle Arms and would later purchase the trademark and rights for ArmaLite. I get various answers to when Mark purchased ArmaLite. ArmaLite themselves say 1995. An interview Mark Weston did with Small Arms Defense Journal claims he purchased ArmaLite in 1984, shortly before the 1994 assault weapons ban. Of course, the ArmaLite Wiki says 1996. Who's telling the truth? I guess we'll never know. In 2013, Strategic Armory Corps acquires ArmaLite. And in 2016, ArmaLite reintroduces the Eagle Arms brand. Now that we got the history of ArmaLite out of the way, let's take a look at the weaponry they designed and used the AR designations with. These are for the original ArmaLite company. AR-1. The AR-1 Para Sniper was a bolt-action rifle chambered in 7.62 by 51 millimeter. Designed by Eugene Stoner and Charles Dorchester around 1947 and picked up by ArmaLite in 1954. It is notable being the first ever firearm designed by ArmaLite. The first prototype was built off a Remington Model 722 receiver and used a Mauser-style action. Most notable about the AR-1 was that it used an aluminum barrel with a steel liner, and the stock was foam-filled fiberglass. Only about 25 AR-1s were ever built. AR-3. The AR-3 was designed by Eugene Stoner in the late 1940s. It was submitted to the U.S. Army tests, but never seriously considered. The AR-3 development was used to test features that would be found in later designs. This was a gas-operated, self-loading carbine chambered in 7.62 by 51. It had a forward-locking bolt with multiple lugs. It also used lightweight materials, an aluminum receiver, and a fiberglass stock. AR-5. The AR-5 was designed by Eugene Stoner and George Sullivan in 1955 for the U.S. Air Force Commission, looking for a compact carbine intended as a backup weapon for aircrew. The AR-5 was a bolt-action rifle in .22 Hornet, whose receiver and barrel could be detached and be stored inside the hollow fiberglass stock, and came with a 4-round detachable magazine. Eventually, after improving this rifle, using suggestions by the Commission, it would be adopted by the U.S. Air Force in 1957 as the MA-1. Despite being adopted, ArmaLite saw very few orders for the AR-5, and to recoup losses, they used the AR-5 as the base for a similar rifle for the civilian market. AR-7. Designed in the late 1950s by Eugene Stoner based off the AR-5, the AR-7 was a blowback operated semi-automatic survival rifle chambered in .22 long rifle. Like the AR-5, the AR-7's receiver and barrel could detach and be stored in the stock. This rifle actually came with 8-round magazines, doubling the previous iteration. the AR-5. The barrel was aluminum with a steel liner. It was about 2 pounds when stored in the stock, so it was light and it can float in the water. The AR-7 was actually ArmaLite's first commercially available product and was marketed as the Explorer. Rights that produced the AR-7 was sold to many companies, from Charter Arms, Survival Arms, AR-7 Industries, and the current rights to the AR-7 belong to, of course, Henry Repeating Arms Co. Makes the lever action rifles like the Golden Boy. And these are still available for purchase. AR-9. Today, when you think of the AR-9, you think of AR-15 style pistol caliber carbines in 9x19. However, the real AR-9 was developed in 1955 and was planned to go into production, but was eventually held back and later used to develop another firearm. The AR-9 was a recoil-operated self-loading shotgun chambered in 12 gauge. It incorporated an early version of the AR-10's rotating bolt, and like ArmaLite would be known for, used lightweight aluminum and fiberglass. AR-10. We all know the AR-10, conceived in 1953 by Eugene Stoner, before being hired by ArmaLite, originally designed to use 30-06 BAR magazines. With a side-mounted gas piston, it eventually got a second prototype that looks far more like what we're used to today. Chambered in 7.62x51 and uses a direct gas impingement system. AR-11. Designed as a smaller, more portable version of the AR-3, instead of being in 7.62x51, the AR-11 was chambered in 222 Remington. The AR-11 was the first try ArmaLite gave to the United States Army in their small caliber high velocity testing. The test would eventually lead to the adoption of the AR-15. Testing stopped on the AR-11 after the gun blew up and injured the head of the machine shop. That's gotta hurt. AR-12. The AR-12 began as a 7.62x51 direct impingement weapon. However, after Colt bought the patent, Eugene Stoner converted it to a short stroke piston design. While this wood furniture rifle would never make it past prototype stage, the short stroke gas piston system would serve as the inspiration for later designs, most notably the AR-18, AR-180. AR-13. Never making it to the prototype stage, the AR-13 was a concept for an aircraft weapon. That's literally the only thing I can find out about it. I actually did reach out to ArmaLite themselves. Granted, it is not the exact same company. I never got a reply. Of course, I'm a tiny-ass channel, so I didn't expect them to reply back. But I tried. AR-14. Becoming a meme thanks to a senile old man, many would be surprised to know the AR-14 was an actual thing. Sort of. Designed as a sporting rifle with hunters in mind, this semi-automatic rifle was to be chambered in 243 Winchester, the 308 Winchester, and 358 Winchester. I'm unsure if the AR-14 ever left the concept stage and if a prototype ever existed, but it was a thing. Again, sort of. AR-15. You know the AR-15. It is the adult Lego set that we all love and enjoy today. ArmaLite, of course, sold the rights to Colt, and currently ArmaLite makes and sells what they call the M15. AR-16. Developed shortly after the AR-15 by Eugene Stoner, unlike the AR-15, this was not intended for domestic use by the U.S. Army, but instead intended to be marketed towards emerging nations within a limited industrial base. The 7.62x51mm was selected over 5.56. The AR-16 was briefly marketed in the early 1960s, but never entered full production due to lack of sales. Most countries either decided to adopt the 5.56 or, hey, we got FALs already here, we're just going to use those. To adjust to this, the rifle was redesigned to take 5.56 and evolved into the AR-18. AR-17. Developed based on the AR-9 prototype, this recoil-operated self-loading 12-gauge shotgun used an aluminum receiver, polycarbonate furniture. It only had the capacity of 2 rounds. It did not sell well, and only about 1,200 of these were actually produced. In fact, Forgotten Weapons did a video on the AR-17. I encourage you to check that out. AR-18, AR-180. Made famous in Ireland during the Troubles, we get the AR-18. Also made for export, this short-stroke gas piston system was a very simple and yet very reliable rifle. The AR-18 saw some success with Howa in Japan, as the AR-180 in the civilian market, and currently Brownell sells their own version, the BRN-180. AR-100 series. A collection of rifles derived from the AR-16. It was never adopted but led to the Ultimax 100. Components were interchangeable between all variants, most notably the bolt that automatically turns fire and pin modes when changed from a closed bolt to an open bolt platform. The four variants are the AR-101 semi-full auto from a closed bolt, AR-102, it's a carbine semi/full auto from a closed bolt, AR-103 carbine full auto from an open bolt, auto ejects empty magazines, and the AR-104 light machine gun full auto from an open bolt, auto ejects empty magazines. And that's it for the old original ArmaLite company. Now for the new ArmaLite company that's still around today, we have the AR-19, a 9mm PCC, basically what people call the AR-9 today, even though now we all know what the AR-9 actually is. AR-20. This is the original designation for ArmaLite's single-shot 50 BMG rifle. AR-22. Like the AR-9, the AR-22 currently has different connotations today as it did back when this AR-22 was developed. Of course, we think AR-22 is something in .22 long rifle, like the Smith & Wesson M&P 22. The original AR-22, of course, was designed by George Reynolds in 1997 and was a blank firing device for the Mark 19 40mm grenade launcher that uses standard 7.62x51 blanks. AR-23, also designed by George Reynolds. This was a sub-caliber device for the Mark 19 40mm grenade launcher. It employs a special tracer cartridge designed to follow the same ballistic arc of the 40mm grenade. AR-24. Briefly sold in the US, it was the designation given to a Turkish Tangfolio style CZ75 clone. The pistol is now imported by SAR USA as the SAR 2000. The AR-30, AR-30A1, and the AR-31. A bolt-action rifle based on their AR-50 rifle. Introduced at SHOT Show in 2000, it was chambered in .308 Winchester, 300 Winchester Magnum, and .338 Lapua Magnum. It uses a 5-round detachable box magazine. The AR-30A1 is a redesign, and most parts are not compatible with the original AR-30. The AR-31 is a short-action version of the AR-31A1, and as far as I know, was only available in .308. AR-50, a 50 BMG single-shot bolt-action rifle. Also has a variant called the AR-50A 1B 416, chambered in 416 Barrett. AR-10B, AR-10A, AR-10 Super SAS. I know I already went over the AR-10, but this variant is from the new ArmaLite Inc. and uses parts from their M15, M16 lens to the Knight's Armament SR25. I do not know if the original AR-10B had an adjustable gas block, but the AR-10 Super SAS and the new available AR-10Bs do come with an adjustable gas block. The AR-10A is a redesign and most parts are not compatible with the AR-10B. AR-180B. Like the updated AR-10, ArmaLite Inc. has updated the AR-180, making it out of high-strength polymer and using the trigger group and magwell from the AR-15. And there you go. ArmaLite didn't just make the AR-10, the AR-15, and the AR-18/AR-180, like most people think, but has a long line of designs that uses the AR designation. Granted, some never went past concept stage or only went to prototype stage. Some got held back just shy of production. Some went to production and didn't do so well. But I hope you found this video informative and interesting. I had used many sources and I'll put those in the description box below. Please like and subscribe and don't forget to share this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video.